Today I'm going to show you how to properly clean a trumpet. Now it will vary from a silver plated trumpet, mine's actually a professional model, down to a student model with a brass trumpet. There are two ways you can do this. Most trumpet players, as they've progressed in their music career, they've become fond of certain products and they choose to buy them individually, or you can buy a kit which typically comes with a snake, which you run through the pipes and it cleans out all the gunk in the pipes. It comes with a valve cleaner and valve casing cleaner. It comes with a mouthpiece cleaner. Also comes with a polishing cloth, and it comes with a generic brand of valve oil and also a generic brand of tube slide grease, which sort of resembles a tube of chapstick, and it has the same consistency. I don't recommend using that because it jams up the slides, especially on a pro model. In my Strad does not like it. So I recommend using Super Slick. It's actually for trombones. It's slide grease for trombones, and my slides slide very easily with Super Slick. So leave the generic slide grease alone and go with Super Slick for that. I did not purchase a kit. I purchased all of my stuff individually because I prefer the Clark Viper oil from my pro model. What you're going to need is obviously wear old clothes because you will get chemicals on your clothes. You're going to need a dark towel or an older towel to lay all of your chemicals and stuff on that you're going to use to clean your horn. And you're going to need at least 2 rags and a few paper towels to clean your bottom valve caps. So what you're going to want to do is take your horn and lay it down, and this is why you need the towel underneath. It prevents your furniture from getting damaged, and it prevents your horn from sustaining damage from hitting it up against things. You're going to want to take all of your slides out. When you take your slides out, follow where the slide runs and hold the valve down to take it out easier, and it'll slide right out. Some of your trumpets, like my pro model, it does have little screws on the bottom. You're going to have to take these screws off in order to get the slide off. So you take those off first, and whatever you do, don't lose these screws. I've lost them before, and they are pretty pricey to replace. And your instrument is gone a couple of weeks in the shop. So once those are removed, set them to the side. Again, hold the valve down so the slide comes out easily. Now on this slide, most pro models have this. You have an extra slide that slides out. So go ahead and take that out as well. It's basically built for easier cleaning. So again, that Super Slick works wonders because you're able to get your slides out. Now go ahead and take the bottom valve caps off. That one's giving me a bit of trouble. It's been a while since I've cleaned my trumpet because I don't use it that often anymore, but it definitely needs a cleaning. We may have to skip this one. Oh, there it goes. And my purpose for doing this video is I substitute teach a lot in band, and students choose their instruments, but they don't really learn anything about care of their instruments. I see them play their instruments and they pretty much put them in the case and don't think about it, and they wonder why their instruments are torn up appearance wise within a couple of years and why they have parts breaking off, parts malfunctioning. They're never really taught the proper care of the instrument. I mean, this trumpet, I've had this trumpet for over 20 years, and it looks, aside from minor scars and scratches, it still looks like it's in the same condition that it was when I got it because I've properly cared for it. All right, once you do that, disassembled your horn, take your snake and you're going to run it through the innards of the horn to get all of the gunk out. I usually start with the first slide and I run it through. Run it all the way through. That's the purpose. It gets the gunk out. As you can tell, there isn't that much on my horn because, like I said, I rarely use it now and I try to keep it clean. So just use it as much as you can through all of the orifices of the horn to try and get all of the built up spit, built up oils, built up slide grease, pretty much anything you can think of out of the horn. Last but not least, run it through the bell. And when you see it come through the valve opening, that's when you know you've ran it all the way through and you can pull it back out. And then pull it back out. All right, next thing you're gonna wanna do is, now that you've done that, just use one of your paper towels and wipe off the ends of your snake to get any of the debris off of it, because then you're gonna take your slides and you're gonna work on your slides, which, by the way, this little holder is handy for holding it and you don't drop your horn. And then just do the same thing with your slides. Run it through your slides. I usually don't run it all the way through my slides like I do the horn because it can bend the snake. All right. And of course, your smaller slides, it's not going to go all the way around, and that's okay. All right, next, go ahead and take one of your rags and wipe the slides off to wipe the old slide grease off of it, because you want to reapply new slide grease to make sure the slides stay in working order. If you have a slide that jams, one of your slides is a tuning slide. If it jams, you cannot tune your horn properly. And I actually have parts that require slide grease on my horn, so I'm going to go ahead and wipe those off as well. All right, now that these are clean, I can set these to the side. I forgot this little guy. And I can work on my valves. I start out with my valve caps. I usually fold a paper towel in half, then I'll fold down a corner, and I run the paper towel, the corner of the paper towel, along the inside of the valve cap to get any debris, because when you have excess oil that builds up on the caps, it runs up into the valve and it can cause the valves to seize up. And as you can see, I had some nastiness on my valve caps. Next, the valves. Go ahead and wipe down the valve oil off of the valve cap, or off of the valves. All right, this is the valve brush. You're just gonna run it through the holes of the valves to get excess oil, dirt, anything that's accumulated off of your horn. All right, and then take the valve again, and if you look at the bottom of the valve, you're going to want to wipe that out too, just to make sure it's clean. All right, then I'm going to take my trumpet again. Since I'm working on the valve part, I'm going to run this valve brush through the valve casings to make sure I get all of the gunk out of there as well. Kind of do everything in stages so I can just put it all back together at once. Take your paper towel and run it over the threads of where the valve caps go on the bottom of the valves. Just get any gunk off. All right, it's pretty simple. That's all you really need to do. Just make sure your horn's thoroughly cleaned inside and out. Now I'm going to go ahead and start reassembling my horn. I'm going to go ahead and put the valve caps back on because honestly that's the easiest part, so I do that first. Be careful you don't cross thread these because then your instrument goes in the shop and it's gone for a couple weeks and it costs you a lot of money. Alright, so I'm going to go ahead and work with my slides first that don't have any outside on the horn that I need to grease. Take your super slick, and it is oil based, so it is going to be really slick and you are going to get your hands dirty a little bit, and just rub it all around the outside. You want to make sure you have a good layer of this on there because this is your tuning slide. It's the most important slide of a horn. It allows you to tune your instrument. A few weeks ago, actually a few months back when I subbed in band, I had a kid who got his tuning slide stuck and he tried to pry it open on the tip of a music stand, and it happened to be a school instrument, and he left a huge dent in it rather than waiting for one of us to get his slide off of his horn for him. Alright, make sure spit valve is facing down towards the bottom. And then you just slide it back in. Sometimes it's kind of difficult at first because you just applied new slide grease. When you slide it back in, just run the slide in and out to make sure the inside of the horn gets lubricated. This is your little slide that is attached to your second valve. On a lot of horns it's difficult to get off, honestly. To me it depends on the brand. I had a Yamaha trumpet and it was very difficult to get this slide off even when I did press down the valve. And again, just double check to make sure you put enough slide grease on there that you can get the slide off and on easily. Alright, now I need to put this one back together. Always double check that it goes in the right spot. This little knob has to face outwards. Wipe off the excess, and it comes in and out easily. Again, if you have a pro model like I do, make sure you put slide grease on the portions on the horn that require it, because if not, your slide could seize up and that's not good. It could damage the horn. Apply a generous amount because this is your slide that also helps you tune certain notes as you're playing, and you're going to have to push it out and in as needed. And I think I put this one in the wrong way. Yeah, so I'm going to have to change it to where the knob faces out. Like I said, it's been years since I've cleaned a horn. There we go. Put it back on. And while I have this and I put it back on, I go ahead, take my little nuts, and I put them back on so I don't lose them. I mean, you're talking about $12 a nut, and you have to take your whole horn in to get them put back on because they're different sizes depending on the model. It is definitely not fun when you lose these. And they can be a bit of a pain to put back on. When you're not using your horn, it's best to put this nut, slide it all the way to this stopper bar so the slide doesn't come out in the case while carrying it and damage it. All right, let's do the last slide and then we can work on the valves. Again, this is also part of your tuning slides that allows you to tune certain notes as playing, so apply a generous amount of this. It's okay if you get it on the outside of the horn. You're going to use a polishing cloth on the horn anyways to get rid of it. All right, it slides pretty easily. This is why I love the Super Slick. It doesn't cause the slides to seize like normal slide grease would for a trumpet. All right, let's go ahead and work on the valves next. Some trumpets have a particular way that a valve has to go in through these notches, and it will show you in the valve casing you have to line these notches up. Other trumpets not so, but unfortunately for Bach trumpets, they have to go in a certain way. Apparently that's the new bottle. All right. Go ahead and apply a generous amount of valve oil all around the valve. And it has the number on the valves as to which valve casing it goes into. Can you zoom in real quick? It has a number 2 on this one, right there. So it will go in valve casing number 2. And it says it on the side of the horn. This would be valve casing number 2. So let me make sure the notches are lined up inside. And you're going to hear a click. That lets you know it's lined up. You always want to test the valve. And it's working pretty good. That's why I love the Viper oil. It works really well. And just keep doing it to the rest of your valves, applying the valve oil generously. And as you can see, the valve oil is dripping on the towel. This would have probably ruined my table if I didn't have the towel under here. All right, this is valve number 3. So we're going to stick it in the 3rd slot. When you don't hear a click, go ahead and put it in. You can test play your horn. If it doesn't play, then you know your notches inside are not lined up well. And this would be valve number 1. This one's a little sluggish, so I'm going to put a little bit more valve oil on it. All right, there we go. All right, next thing. You're already done with your valve oil. Go ahead and put that to the side. Your snake, just wipe it off again. And then wrap it back up. I like to clean up as I go. It's less of a hassle to do it after I'm done because everything's already done. All right, your mouthpiece cleaner. Most people, when they clean their trumpets, they use a mouthpiece sanitizing spray. It's a Santamist spray. I really don't like it because it can burn your throat and it doesn't give adequate time for it to dry. What I like to do is boil my mouthpieces. That way I know they're sanitized. I just take a small pot, fill it with water, let it come to a rolling boil with the mouthpieces inside the pot, and let it boil for about 20 minutes. Then I know it's clean. I have what's called a Warburton mouthpiece, and the back bore and the cup come apart. Most of your mouthpieces are attached though. So this one's rather difficult to clean, so that is why I normally boil it. But this time I'll go ahead and spray it because it's going to take too long to boil it. And all this is an alcohol-based spray. But like I said, it takes a while for the mouthpiece to dry on the inside, and if you need to play right away, then I honestly recommend boiling your mouthpieces at least once a day to keep them sanitary, because you can get sick if you don't keep it sanitary. If you've had a cold before and then you don't clean your mouthpieces, or you allow somebody else to borrow your trumpet, they're sick, they don't clean the mouthpiece, guess what? You're sick. All right. And then I just screw the cup back on the back bore. And this one is attached, so I'm just going to spray the spray down in and run the mouthpiece cleaner through it. And this one goes all the way through. And then I just wipe it dry. Wipe your mouthpiece cleaner off, your valve cleaner off. We're done with all that. We actually don't need these extra paper towels. Next thing you want to do, because you're not done yet, is take your other rag and go ahead and run it across the outside of your horn, just to get any excess oils off from the valves, tuning grease, things of that nature. It's also a good thing every time you play, if you can't get a polishing cloth right away, once you're done playing, go ahead and run an old towel across your horn to get any of the fingerprints off, because the fingerprints, the oils in our skin, will eat through the finish on the horns. Honestly, that's how I've kept my horns so clean over the years, and I've cheated and bought silver plated polish. And understand, if you use a polish like Brasso for brass trumpets, silver plated for silver plated trumpets, once you start using a certain type of polish, you can never stop using that polish. So just be mindful of that once you start using it, you're going to have to use it, because that makes the instrument more prone to tarnish. Honestly, if I had to do it all over again, I wouldn't have started with a polish, because now I do have a few tarnish spots on here from not being able to polish it all the time. So at least make the dedication to once a month polishing your horn if you're going to use something like Brasso or Wright's silver polish or something like that. Alright, once you ran the towel around it to get the excess oils and slide grease off, go ahead and take a polishing cloth. This is for silver plated instruments. Your brass one will have an orange color to it, and as you can see all the tarnish on it, that's because I need to polish it with the silver polish again. And just rub the horn. Just rub it along the horn to get all the fingerprints off, all the gunk off. And that's it. It's pretty much all you do to clean the trumpet. Again, your kits, if you choose to go with a kit, I got this at my local Carlton Music. Understand, you may have products in the kit that you end up not liking. That's why I did not buy a kit this time, because I found products that I like more than the products that come in the kit. So of course it costed me a little more. I think my valve oil runs about $7.95 a bottle. The Super Slick was $2 for the container of it. My snake, it was $7.99 for the snake. And also the kit comes with a metal thing that you can weave a rag through, you honestly don't need this for a trumpet. It's really for woodwinds like flutes and clarinets. I don't know why they put those in trumpet cleaning kits. If you choose to go with a trumpet cleaning kit, it's going to run you anywhere from $15 to $25 depending on the music store you get it at. So, and that's it.